Hello. In this video, I want to talk about success narratives, the stories that we tell ourselves, that we tell other people, that sometimes are imposed on other people, telling people, hey, this is how to have a great life, how to be happy, how on your deathbed to be proud of the life that you've lived. And I want to talk about this. I think it's one of the most important conversations we need to have in our time because the prevalent success narrative is killing people. If you watch this video all the way through, you have opportunity to find out, is it possible that the success narrative that you currently adhere to, is it contributing towards killing you? And so to expand on that idea, what does it mean? How can a story kill me? Well, if we follow a set of life instructions, sort of a life blueprint, a plan for how to be successful, and ultimately what it does is instead of creating challenges and good hard work that make us feel energized for tackling something we're passionate about, if instead we feel drained by the challenges that we're taking on, it's leading to burnout. Good challenges that energize us contribute to our quality of life and length of life, but challenges that lead to burnout, that draw on more resources than we have to give, then that negatively impacts our physical health, our mental health, and to the point where it lowers quality of life and can shorten length of life. So taking a look at success narratives, what's the one that's so negatively hurting so many people that I would argue is an active conveyor belt? Well, people say, this is how to not get into the rat race. It's the active conveyor belt carrying people into it. Does this sound familiar to you? So parents have learned that they are expecting a child. In celebration, maybe there's a baby shower, resources start coming this family's way, and they receive gifts of money, but the money is very specifically labeled in the card, on the checks, part of the e-transfer. It's very specifically identified as for their future, intended for their education, and very specifically what the assumption is that this is for their college or university fund. So thinking about that for a moment, we're just past the conception point. This baby hasn't even entered the world yet, and already people are identifying that when they're old enough to go to college or university, that's going to cost. You need to start saving now. We're thinking 17 years ahead, and just because we know this child exists, that's where money is now going. Now, toys also are sort of focused on that long-term picture of education success and a hoop they will need to jump through one day to be successful. These are educational toys. So very specific leanings to support their reading skills, to support their cognitive problem-solving skills. If you take a look at things that are geared towards a 3-month-old, it's a little funny when you realize, wait a minute, this is to prepare them for school. They're 3 months, they're 8 months, they're 2 years old. There's a lot of pressure. And this idea that, they have to be getting educational toys because then they can be successful in preschool, be successful in kindergarten, which will set them up for success in elementary school, which will help them to really go for that push at the end, those high school years where they have to get those good grades in order to be able to successfully apply to go to college or university. Grades don't really matter in the big wide world. Your doctor does not ask for your grades when assessing your cardiovascular health. A bank asking, if you've approached them to ask for a mortgage, they don't ask for your report card. And your children do not care if you got straight A's. They want to know that you love them and that you will keep them safe. Grades don't really matter out there, and yet high school is this time to dig deep, get those grades, not because you're entering the world, but because you hope to enter college or university. Why would you do that? Because you're aiming to get a degree or a diploma in order to get a fabulous job with a great paycheck. This is going to allow you to buy a home. You'll be able to raise your family. You'll be able to save up for retirement. And it's when you reach that retirement age, that's when you can really celebrate and rest and enjoy your success. And so that might sound a little bit familiar, if not that entire thing. Different elements of it may sound familiar. It may have been spoken into your life, and you may have been told that that was what was needed for you to be successful. What I want to make sure viewers know is that there is another narrative. What can happen with narratives, especially cultural narratives, ones around success in this particular case, is that they become just reality. They become just what is. And reason for it, so many people have told the story, so many people have repeated the story, so many people have lived out the story that now generations have grown up in it. And especially if you were born into the narrative, then you've never had reason necessarily to question it. It's like the air that you walk around in every day. You don't question the air. You don't pay attention to the air. It's just there. It just is. And so what are the other narratives? What are the narratives that we're not talking about because we're not really questioning and engaging this other narrative that feels like it just is? Well, let me run another scenario past you, not as this is the other narrative or this is the one that you should be following, but rather trying to start a constructive conversation about there's another way. And if anything, I think this other conversation, this other narrative can help to shed some light on some of the deeply rooted problems with the one we're living out now. So try this on for size. Parents learn that they're expecting a child and they enjoy that process and they do their best to enjoy it. Maybe it's a very challenging process, but they simply navigate the focus on health, well-being, maternal care, natal care, a new baby has arrived. And so in that time of really nurturing relationships and family, taking care of, your home, all these different things, that's just focusing on family care, home care, community engagement, life. There we go. Then resources are focused on care for baby. Resources are focused on care of parents, care of home, whatever those gifts happen to be. Baby grows up and they are entering a stage where they're starting to understand. Mom and dad are talking about being a lifelong learner and just enjoying being in the moment, the learning opportunities that present themselves along the way. Wherever you are, be there. And whatever experience you're having, lean into it. Why? Because life is teaching us things all the time. There's so many things we can take away from those experiences and then keep building on. And so maybe the child is homeschooled. Maybe the child attends the formal system. Either way, they just know I'm a lifelong learner wherever I am. Be there. There's a lesson happening right now and things I can take away. And so as a lifelong learner, they progress through time, they progress through life events, they progress through health and illness, they progress through good weather, bad weather, natural disasters. Their life isn't disrupted. Their schooling, their education, their learning can't be disrupted because it's not about curriculum, but instead about, wherever I am, whatever's going on, I'm just learning and I'm growing. And so this person then has the ability to have all financial resources that are coming in. Instead of being dedicated to education, going to tuition with an institution, that person is able, that child who's growing is able to gather resources knowing that these are my resources and I intend to use them for me. And with that focus of a child, doing different things and gathering money over the years, getting to their teen years, being employed, having a job, it's not tuition. It's not saving for my future. It's saving for something that works for me. And what's the thing that works for them the most? An asset. But an asset in this particular case is something that pays them without them having to work for it. And to do a little comparison, and the other success narrative where we talk about people going to university or college, very specifically, that's part of the success narrative. Often those things are referred to as your diploma or your degree, this higher education obtained through this institution. Then this is an asset. And unfortunately, no, it doesn't meet this definition. This definition of it makes money for me without me having to work for it. You had to work for that diploma or degree. If you don't show up to class, you don't get that. So it's not an asset. Will it pay for itself? That's not a guarantee either. So it fails that definition. In this other success narrative, this person is very specifically looking for, well, I'm going to save up for something or create something even that pays me without me having to work for it. And so I gather my resources. My resources are for my well-being, my benefit, for my family, for my community, not with the focus of giving them away to somebody else with nothing to show for it. Nothing to show for it. I don't mean to demean higher education through a college or university by saying that it's nothing. There's very valuable experience there. But let's take a look at this. This person gets an asset. Let's see how college and university fit into this new narrative. They're not demeaned. Instead, we can still celebrate that universities, universitas, a unifying of a community where people want to learn, teach and learn together. That's what a university is at heart, not an institution, but a collective community of teachers and learners. Somebody can have an asset, it starts paying them without them having to work for it, and they focus on things like establishing their home, buying a house, buying an income property, whatever it is, with that income coming in and that life experience that they've been gaining from building up their assets, their asset portfolio, whatever that happens to look like for them. Everybody is unique. Pick assets that match your values. Then they reach a point of going, well, you know what, maybe I do want a degree or I do want a diploma, but now this lifelong learner who knows the value of all their experience, they didn't allow somebody else to decide the value of their learning based on grades and report cards. They didn't allow somebody else to report their learning and say how much value it has or doesn't have. They have the tool of self-reported learning, where they can look back over their lifelong learning journey and say, you know what, I know how to record this. And here are the two documents to know about for this narrative: a self-reporting course syllabus and a self-reporting course transcript. And somebody can take their valuable life experience, building their assets, living life, and doing the things that were focused on care for themselves, their family, their communities, and record it and approach a college or university and say, could you please review this? I have created these documents. Can you take a look at where this can be translated into formal credits with your institution, and then what I need to do to complete a program with you? And in some cases, it can reduce course loads so that, yeah, you would have had to take 40 courses, but the paperwork you provided, we can strike off 12 of those. So here's what you have remaining. You can actually put together something so prolific that an organization can go, you meet the requirements of a program, a completed program, so we can take a look at the administration fee to translate this into a degree or diploma through our organization. And so, and you don't like the answer that you get from one institution, you can always take it to another institution. But the idea being here that colleges and universities can still play a role in somebody's life without being a gateway, a door that somebody has to get through in order to get financial stability, in order to be able to be successful, to get a job. In this lifelong learning scenario, somebody can approach their dream employer and say, you know what, instead of going to an institution and then coming back to you 4 years from now, I want to learn how to be the most amazing employee that you've ever had. I would like to continue my learning and obtain post-secondary level learning here on the job, listening to you saying, what do I need to do to be the best employee you've ever had? And that's what I'm going to dedicate myself to studying. And so somebody who knows how to create those lifelong learner, self-reporting academic records can actually then create their own post-secondary education just by going out and continuing to live their life, including showing up at an employer who said they require a degree, but actually we're more focused on, we want to know that you are a lifelong learner, that you are dedicated to ongoing growth, that you are dedicated to excellence. And so this person now is approaching employers with assets in place that are paying them without them having to work for it, and with this goal in mind, building their asset portfolio, making it so resilient that it reaches the point that flashing lights, okay, spotlights, this, take this away, please. Their passive income exceeds their monthly expenses. And it is at that point, that establishment of your passive income from your asset portfolio exceeds your monthly expenses, that you are free from ever having to work ever again. This person is able to dedicate themselves to solving the problems in the world, using their strengths, growing in their areas for growth, focused on whatever it is that they want to, that they feel most passionate about, wherever it is that they're most needed at that time. They're able to rest if they get injured or sick. It's not about having a 3-month emergency fund and then having to pick themselves up and keep going, get back to work because the emergency fund is run out. That person could take time off if they needed it. They could take 3 years to recover from a concussion, 6 years to recover from a spinal injury, and have their needs taken care of the entire time. So there is room now to breathe, to take care of family, to take care of themselves. And so protecting their quality of life and their length of life. You've got somebody now who, as they progress and keep going along, instead of, withdrawing that toxic idea of, oh, well, if people, have passive income and don't have to work for it, then they become lazy. That's nonsense. Don't perpetuate that message without unpacking it first. If anything, you watch people maybe crash for a little bit if they were in the rat race first, and then they pick themselves up and they pursue their passions. They go and problem solve. People are motivated by problems and they see them and go, I want to do something about that. We move into that place of challenge where we feel energized, okay, and good about the hard work that we're doing. So we now have somebody who can walk away from bad work. Somebody who still goes out and still works, but who has the freedom to say, this place is toxic and I did my best to try and problem solve. I've done everything I can for conflict resolution, but I can see this is negatively impacting my physical and mental health. And so I can walk away. I have secure resources. I'm not trapped in this. But that's the rat race when you don't have that choice and you're trapped and you have to keep showing up. It doesn't matter how toxic it is. You keep coming in because it's all about hard work. And so that's just the beginnings of starting to unpack these two different narratives and the implications, the outcomes, because there's one last thing that I want to highlight in that second narrative is that if somebody focused on themselves in a healthy way, if somebody has built up their assets, their passive income exceeds their monthly expenses, they are able to dedicate themselves to problem solving that they're passionate about, walk away from things that are toxic, then all of a sudden this concept of retirement is retired. There's no such thing as retirement. There's simply freedom. And I want you to think about that. This cheese that's at the end of the maze, this carrot that's on the end of the stick, retirement. One day I can rest. One day I can enjoy my success. One day, and the things we're willing to do to try and survive until one day. Focus on ourselves, assets, passive income, exceeding monthly expenses, tends to take a much shorter window. And it isn't about having to put in a certain amount of time. It's really about building up knowledge, skill set, and realizing this is the way that I can achieve this, not copying somebody else's way, other people's way of doing it, but instead going, here are the general principles. So what does that look like for me? And then achieving freedom. And so I am really interested in talking more about what on earth this world could look like if more and more and more people were able to live free. I think there's value in starting these conversations because I think this would be a wildly amazing world if more people were able to pursue problem solving and addressing the problems that they see in the world that they are passionate about solving. What amazing things could happen. So if I can contribute towards that by opening conversations about success narratives, then I'm in. So I'd be really interested to find out what your thoughts are, having just been, introduced to this concept in this video. Or maybe you've talked about success narratives and you've got thoughts that you want to contribute. I want to know your thoughts, your questions, put them in the comments. If you found this video interesting or helpful, make sure to like, share it with other people, subscribe to the channel so that you know when other videos come out. And please grab my guide, How to Protect Yourself and How to Protect Your Child from the Rat Race, because I've taken the large, more complex picture and boiled it down. If you are interested in ensuring that your child is protected from the rat race, making sure that they are protected from it because they never enter it in the first place, or if you're looking for how do I get out of it, how do I switch from this narrative that's killing me to this narrative that is contributing to my health and well-being, energizing me and making me feel great about the life that I live, all of that is in that guide. I walk you through how to do it and how to move to a place where you get to live free. So I'll put the link in the description. And just with that, thank you for being here. And I just hope you have a fabulous day.